Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, Kelly Klass and Jill Skeen.
Good morning and welcome to Top Story. 7360300 is always the number to call. And good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
Okay, I'm just going through my papers.
You're supposed to do that before the show.
A little verklempt this morning.
Have you? Why?
Getting everything put in order. Just
Why?
lots of stuff.
What's getting you out of joint here?
Just lots of stuff going on.
Is that right?
That's all I can say.
Oh, Kelly, okay.
All righty then. It's going to be a busy day today.
Are you okay now? Are we ready to start the show?
I think so. I think I've got the switches up, and I got all the buttons pushed, and the video's rolling, and
yada yada.
I think
yada.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Pretty think I'm ready.
We've got a big slate today.
We do. At 8:20, we've got the folks from the South Central Public Health District coming in, talking about barrages in the canyon coming up this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
At 8:30, we've got the cops with the bad guys list.
Mm-hmm.
At 8:40, we have Twin Falls School Superintendent Wiley Dobbs.
That's right.
And at 9 o'clock, we have Idaho Lieutenant Governor Brad Little joining us.
That's right.
For the campaign
trail.
This is your
chance to call, ask questions of the candidates.
I don't know. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Because sometimes the callers want to get in a debate. It takes a lot of time. Then we're not able to cover a lot of territory with the candidates. So
if you have a question, just make it short, not a debate. Just ask.
A quick,
and then
short question and let them answer.
Let them answer.
And don't expect to debate with them because it just doesn't work out that way.
Right, because you do want them to cover a vast array of issues. And when you get stuck on one, then you're stuck on one.
Exactly.
It's not fair to the other listeners who want answers on a lot of things.
But for right now, we have this Ebola situation going on in Dallas, Texas. As many as 80 people now were in contact with the Dallas Ebola patient at some point, according to Texas health officials, marking a significant jump from the 18 people that authorities had said may have been exposed to the deadly virus. Additionally, 4 members of the patient's family have been ordered to stay home as a precaution, even though they are not showing symptoms.
But he didn't either.
True, exactly.
So, hello.
So there is a lot of... Actually, I've been talking to just people around town, and almost everybody brings it up. How about this Ebola thing, huh? So I looked a little bit online this morning. How concerned should we be? And there's one article here from the Idaho Statesman that says, first off, don't panic, according to Ezra Klein, in a post for Vox. Ebola is terrifying, but it's not likely to kill you. That, Klein says, is because of the difference between an outbreak in a country like Liberia or Sierra Leone with a more fragile healthcare system and a country like the U.S. When Ebola has edged into countries with stronger health systems, it's been stopped cold. Mm-hmm. For evidence of that, he said, look to Nigeria, which beat back the virus after an infected man flew into an airport in Lagos on July 20th. So I went down here, and there are some questions about Ebola that people might be asking, along with some answers, and I thought they were quite appropriate for right now. How does it spread? Only through close contact with the bodily fluids of someone who has symptoms such as fever, vomiting, and diarrhea. People are not contagious until symptoms begin, and Ebola cannot spread through the air.
And this man, he carried his neighbor's, dying daughter or something to the hospital where she died.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, at one point, where's your responsibility? You're going to come visit your sister and her kids? Okay, anyway, go on. Okay,
so who's at risk? Texas health officials already have begun tracking down those close contacts, believed to be mostly the relatives of the man stayed with. Officials will check them for symptoms every day for 21 days. Could Ebola have spread on the airplane? That answer is no, because the man was not sick then.
Right.
CDC said there's no need to monitor anyone else on those flights and didn't reveal flight information. Will the patient stay in Dallas? Frieden said there's no need to transfer the man to one of those special isolation units that have gotten so much attention for treating 4 American aid workers who caught Ebola while volunteering in West Africa. Most hospitals can follow the necessary infection control for Ebola, Frieden said, and the Dallas hospital said it was well prepared to safely treat this newest case. It's my understanding that the nurse who first treated this guy in Dallas, when he came into the emergency room with these symptoms, she asked him, "Have you been out of the country anywhere?" And he says, "Yes, I just got here from Liberia." And it never connected with her, and she just didn't pay any attention.
She's like, "Where's Liberia?"
She let him go. She
Yeah.
let him go.
I mean, that's your hospital staff. I mean, people are supposed to be aware. Maybe she was young. Who knows? Whatever. How do you not know what's happening in the world?
Yeah, I know.
But there are people like that.
I know there are.
know.
I know, and it's frustrating. Could there be more travelers with Ebola? No one's ruling it out. People boarding planes in the outbreak zone are checked for fever, but that doesn't guarantee that an infected person won't get through.
And also, the man threw from Liberia to was it Brussels, and Brussels to here? I mean, at some point on the trip, his symptoms could have started, even though they checked his temperature at the airport in Liberia.
Yeah.
So it's sweet.
But I've been thinking we have this we got this Ebola thing going on, and that's what everybody's attention is on. But we still have this enterovirus that has killed 4 people in the United States.
4 kids, yeah.
And it is in Idaho.
Yep.
There's a story here from the Statesman from a few days ago, a respiratory infection that has hospitalized more than 1,000 children across the nation is now in Idaho. According to the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare officials, the announcement came after the Centers for Disease Control finished testing samples from 5 Idaho children hospitalized with respiratory illness. The results show that 1 child tested positive for EVD68, 2 tested positive for a different virus, and 2 were negative. All 5 children have since been released from the hospital. And again, this is a few days. But one died in...
it was Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
But now they're seeing some kids are getting paralysis from this virus. It's now going to paralysis, and they don't know if they're going to recover fully after this. So, this one is scary.
Yeah, 4 people who were infected with a virus causing severe respiratory illness across the country have died, but what role the virus played in the deaths is unclear, according to health officials. A 10-year-old Rhode Island girl died last week after suffering both a bacterial infection and infection from the enterovirus 68. So, to me, that seems to be maybe of a little more concern right now than the Ebola virus.
Well, that's spreading everywhere. So, I mean, hopefully they can contain this. And, we've had those 2 people survive.
We got a caller. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. This is the next 9/11 is this Ebola and this other one you're talking about. The borders are open. These people are going to be coming across the borders. These sick little bastards they got for terrorists, they'll get this disease, and as soon as they start showing symptoms, come across the border and start touching people or do whatever. I mean, this is nuts. If there's not a good reason to close the border down, to control it, to make sure they come through the checkpoints, this is it. For no other reason, just for this.
Well, the Ebola virus is coming from Africa. It's not coming from our southern border. And the the refugee kids that are coming through, they're not bringing the Ebola. This man's from Africa, and that's in Sierra Leone and Nigeria. And
there could be that possibility.
Well, there could be a lot of possibilities, but
so when you have people just coming across the border at will, I mean, there's always that possibility.
They're going through anyway. That's a whole nother whatever. Okay, fine.
7360300. Top story. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I haven't heard a lot about that other virus. I've heard some of it, but the one on the main front, which is Ebola, I heard that it's actually so close to like how you get the common cold or a flu.
Yeah.
But they understate it, and they say, well, don't worry about it. It's hard to get. But they say if you're within 3 feet, be scared. And it has a mortality rate of 50%, regardless of where it's at.
Well, actually, we saw it was 60% survival rate.
Well, and that's 40% mortality rate.
But you have to say, look at the conditions in what's going on in Africa. The dead bodies are laying there. They say hospitals are just becoming morgues where people are just they don't have the same conditions we have here. And I think that's a lot of it.
I'm not saying that someone couldn't use this for their own evil purposes, but what I am saying, and I said this to a few people before this story even came out, was that it looks like the ones that we have treated and have survived, I mean, it's not apparently a death sentence like we thought it was.
Right.
And when you have third world countries like Sierra Leone and Liberia and places like that,
Nigeria,
where people are literally lying in the streets with it, as opposed to the medical infrastructure that we have in the United States, I think it gets to the point where you think, okay, they can control this now. And now, unless they have nurses like they had in the emergency room at this hospital in Dallas who didn't pay any attention when the guy said, yes, I just got here from Liberia, and then she just let it go. And he had cold symptoms, I guess. So when he came in and she didn't press it any further, he thought, okay, well, then it must not be that big of a deal.
I'm sorry. The man is from Liberia. He carried someone's daughter who died.
I agree.
If he doesn't in his brain think I might have Ebola, and I just carried someone to the hospital who died probably of Ebola, how could you get on a plane and infect your sister and her kids, not to mention the other people he was in contact with? What is wrong with him?
Well,
would you not in your brain go, I think I have Ebola, I'm from Africa, whether she knew Liberia or not? I think this man is totally irresponsible. If that were my brother, I would kill him to expose me or my children to that.
I don't disagree.
He got there
but
the 19th.
Also the nurse.
He started to get symptoms, the 24th, and he went back the 26th. I mean, almost, 5 days later after he's been there.
And the nurse at the hospital. I mean, he told her that he was from Liberia, and it apparently went in one ear and out the other. I mean, for crying out loud.
Maybe that says something about the Texas educational system. They don't know where Liberia is. What's going on? If you're a hospital, wouldn't
that was a stretch.
Wouldn't you inform your staff? Okay, look at if anyone. But maybe
she might have been informed.
I don't know.
You just don't know what the situation is. She might have been in the 47th hour of a 48-hour shift, which still is not an excuse, but at least you can be a little more empathetic.
But the man could have said, I think I have Ebola. Good gosh.
I agree, Jill.
People are dropping all over his country. You're carrying a dead woman. Do you not say it might be a Ebola or else the common cold?
Sniffles.
Here's some antibiotics. Come back in the morning.
We'll be right back to talk about bras across the canyon with the South Central Public Health District. And 7360300 is the number here on Top Story. Welcome back. And I just wanted to tell you that we've got the folks coming up from the South Central Public Health District here shortly. But I wanted to tell you about Clearwater Power Equipment. They're now in Twin Falls. And it's chainsaw season because everybody's concerned about getting some firewood for the coming winter.
I thought it was because it was Halloween,
and
but
that
whatever.
That too, yeah. And leaf blowers.
Yeah.
And they've got Echo leaf blowers. They've got Echo chainsaws at Clearwater Power Equipment, and they not only sell them, but they service them. They have parts and all that stuff. So if you're in the market for a chainsaw, rather than going to a big box store and talking to someone who knows absolutely nothing about it, go to Clearwater Power Equipment, 252 Washington Street, or you can give them a call at 734-7767. Okay, we have Amy Lehrman and Nancy Andriotti here with us this morning, both from the South Central Public Health District. Coming up this Saturday is Bras Across the Canyon, and the Public Health Department is going to be involved in that. Am I correct in that?
Yes, this is our first year attending and our first year as a sponsor, and we're really excited.
Why did you guys decide to do it this year?
Penny Main, your very own Penny Main, came to us and said, we have this. Do you know we do this? And it's awesome. And we said, sign us up. We're there.
Oh, well, that was easy.
That was easy. So what are you guys going to be doing?
We are going to be talking about our Women's Health Check program, which is, of course, breast and cervical cancer screening. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what we do as an agency. We're going to have some activities. We're going to have some prizes, giveaways, all kinds of fun stuff.
So now, Nancy, are you the expert that I am supposed to ask about bra pong?
I don't know if I would consider myself an expert, but yeah, it looks like it's going to be a pretty fun game.
How's it work?
Well, we're just going to let people come and discover how it works.
Oh.
Okay.
And then they can win a free prize if they play the game.
I see.
They can.
Okay, so it must. Okay, well, I won't ask any more questions about
I
it
guess
then.
not. So what do you guys do for women, as far as like breast exams, things like that, as a public service agency?
Well, the program that I work in is the Women's Health Check program. It's for breast and cervical screening. It's to get those women who are underinsured, don't have any insurance, are lower income, of a certain age. They can come in and we can do breast and cervical screening for them. There are some income guidelines that they have to meet, but I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone about the program, and they can reach me at 208-737-5935. Again, my name is Nancy, and if you have any
Say that
questions,
number
give me a
slower,
call.
Nancy.
It's 208-737-5935.
Okay, great.
So I know that breast cancer is everywhere, but as far as the Magic Valley area, are we kind of in the upper part, the lower part, or are we kind of about average for the number of instances of breast cancer? Do we know?
I would say probably average.
Okay.
I just saw a thing yesterday on Facebook that said 1 in 8 women in their life will be diagnosed with breast cancer.
How are
That's
women
pretty
in
high.
that is well, yeah, that's been that for a while. But how many women in Idaho are they? Especially if you don't have insurance, how many are coming and getting mammograms or breast exams?
Quite a few, but we'd like to get those numbers up. So anybody who
Because we are
thinks they
kind of
might-
low on the list on that, aren't we? For people or women to get examined.
We are a little bit, yeah.
We are.
need to get those numbers up and get these women in to get their screenings done so that we can get that number up, but also so we can increase the number of people that are having it done to prevent the cancer that's coming around.
Yeah. We had a guest yesterday, Beverly Witherspoon, in fact. She's a breast cancer survivor. She found hers through a self-examination, and she had been getting regular mammograms, but apparently it didn't pick it up. So it's important to not only get the mammogram, but also self-examination, because
Absolutely.
it can be critical. It can be a
Yes.
matter of life or death. She happened to find hers in time, and everything turned out okay. But it used to be that breast cancer was pretty much a death sentence, but we have really made some great strides, I understand, in
we
the last
have.
few years.
We have,
What's
yeah.
the survival rate now? Do you know? 'Cause
Stomp the gas,
I know.
Cal.
I'm taking over Jill's position. Or stumping
I
the
usually
guest.
do that, but
I heard it was, and I don't know if this is anywhere near accurate or even if it pertains to this type, but I heard something around 94%. Does that sound a little high?
I'm hoping it's that high. That would be great.
I think it used to be about 95% would die with it, but now it's kind of swapped places because we've made so much headway in the treatment of it and the discovery of it.
Yes, and speaking of that, we want to talk about too that on Saturday we're going to have a breast cancer survivor that actually came into our Women's Health Check program, and that program saved her life. So she's going to talk about her experience, and it's going to be really touching. We're looking forward to it.
what
So.
time is that? In case people want to gauge.
I do
what time
believe
to be
it'll
there?
be probably sometime between 2 and 3.
Okay.
Okay, because
Yeah.
it starts at noon
Mm-hmm.
at the Prime Bridge, and it'll probably go till about 3. The
Yes.
walk across the bridge, I believe, takes place between 2 and 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's supposed to decorate bras and bring them, and there will be prizes for that. And it's just, it's going to be quite a deal.
Yes, we've been decorating bras at our office. It is bra aroma
Are people
in
bringing
there.
their own bras in? Because I would be like wigged out to bring my own bra, and I would have to buy one. You know what I mean? It seems something a little too personal about
I
that.
think most of them are purchasing them and
Yeah.
decorating them. We have some really, really
know.
pretty ones. The poor men in the office kind of just look the other way and quickly
I think
pass,
Callie
but-
should wear one decorated, don't you?
Absolutely.
Well, you can go ahead and think all you want, Jill.
I am. Maybe you guys can.
Well, we're
brush
out of
them.
time. I want to thank Amy Lerman and Nancy Andriotti from the Public Health Department for coming in, and we'll see you guys on Saturday.
Yes,
Best of
thank
luck.
you so much.
All right. This is Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. We got the cops with the bad guys list next. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back, and I should do this, I guess. We have Sergeant Keith Thompson with the Idaho State Police. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to have
I'll
you
have you know, Kelly's lost everyone else's theme song, but somehow hasn't lost this one. I think it's out of fear.
I don't know what to say. I think
This one has
from getting
lasted.
tickets. Yeah.
Is that it? Now I know.
that's right. See, if I ever get pulled over, I say, you give me a ticket, and I'm not going to have that
I'm
theme
not
song
going to play your
for you
theme song anymore.
That's right.
You're like,
That's right.
okay.
And it seems to work, so.
Oh, gosh.
At any rate, good morning. How are
Good
things
morning.
going?
Going great. Good things are happening. So.
All right. Now, the ISP, is it the ISP has the Just Drive, or is that kind of
Yes.
a more wide-ranging?
Actually, Idaho State Police is the one that's doing it at CSI on this Saturday at 9 a.m. And what it is, we'll take kids, teenagers that are able to drive and so on, and we actually put a trooper in there with them, and they're texting as they're going around a cone course that we set up.
So you just have them drive normally.
Exactly. While
Because
they're
they're all
texting.
texting and driving.
Right, and just to show them, the dangers thereof. And I mean, every day that you're texting and driving, you really are fortunate that people aren't around you immediately in that area where you're not going to smack into them.
Well, I just heard that there's more people dying from texting and driving than DUIs.
I don't doubt it.
And
Yeah.
the
And it's
statistics are crazy.
just as addictive.
Yes. Yes.
That phone just needs to go into a lockbox somewhere when you're driving. I mean, it's just.
Well, I heard something that, like, some psychologist said, the little ding or whatever, it's almost like someone tapping you on your shoulder, like you can't
You
ignore
start
it.
salivating.
Like,
and-
well,
yeah.
like you can't ignore it. Like, someone taps, you turn, you hear
Right.
it, and it's almost like a psychological thing. Like, you literally have to turn the sound off, I think.
Right.
So you don't, because it's so distracting. I mean, it's almost like
It
a
gets your
natural
brain
response.
working. I got to know
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So have you noticed an uptick in the number of accidents due to specifically texting?
It's always hard to prove the texting first and foremost. I mean, you gotta get their phone and stuff, but I know there's been a lot of them. A lot of times the troopers, if they could get the phone, look at the phone and look at the timing on it and everything that goes with that. Not too many people actually admit, I was texting, but
But they
yeah.
can always find out, can't they, in an accident, like what time?
You got to get a warrant and everything that goes with that. If you're going to get that serious, reality is usually you can prove just inattentive. It's easier to write an inattentive misdemeanor citation than it is to write the new cell phone.
Is that
infraction.
also it's just an infraction?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Why not write
That's
the
interesting.
misdemeanor? Then have you written more Have you written a texting
I always
one?
go with the inattentive. I don't write the text. I'll write with the inattentive.
Which is a misdemeanor, a
Which
little
is
more
a
serious.
misdemeanor.
And what do they say? I was texting. Do they admit it? Do they
No,
what?
I've never had anyone admit it necessarily. So, or they'll say, "Well, I was making a phone call," because you could take that time to make that. Dial
Well,
that
those
number and-
new smartphones, it's more difficult to dial something if you do have to make a phone call. You have to look. It's really hard.
They might be smarter to admit they were texting.
Yeah, it might be better for them.
Yeah,
exactly.
Then you write them an infraction for that instead of not admitting it, and then you give them a misdemeanor citation for inattentive.
So
was I not supposed to say that?
That
Oh,
works
okay.
fine with me.
The scary thing is how many times I drive and I see people, even on the way to work the other day, starting to drift over into the middle line. Like, I literally beat my horn. I'm like, you're either on drugs or you're asleep or you're texting.
Right.
I mean, your first instinct is stop texting, because you literally see them going and you're like, my gosh, if a car was coming the other way.
Or stopped at a
A
stoplight.
stoplight, right?
Yeah, that's when I find them.
I honk my horn more times than I could think about it anymore. It seems like.
They must.
What do they do?
They must have apoplexy.
Well, once you
when
honk
they,
your horn, they go usually. But
do you do that in your police car?
no, I have in a police car. If I caught them doing that,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
seen them, I'd just pull them over. So
Yeah, you ought to try that in the police
I
car.
notice
When they look
people
in the
drive
mirror.
much better when I'm around.
I've
in my
noticed
police
that
car,
too.
so I
Yeah,
don't know.
even I. We got a caller. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, kids. Burley guy, how you doing?
Burley.
Burley
good.
guy, how are ya?
Gooder and gum. It's cold out there today, though.
Yes, it is.
Hey, I've got a question. Here on Overland here in Burley, we got a couple of restaurants. They must sell, whatever they sell must be addictive because the cars back up out into the street. And I was wondering if I rear end one of them, am I
Is it your
who's
fault or
at
theirs?
fault? Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I see. So if they're backing up, I mean, obviously,
I think they're parked there. They're parked in the street.
right. But it'd be the person that's parked. It'd be their responsibility to be able to unpark themselves. I guess you could say safely. to pull out into that traffic.
Wait,
Okay,
what were they? What
so
are
if
they
he hits
selling
them-
that he said they're backing out? What did he say?
I don't. I-
Something illegal.
But if he
said.
hits them while they are parked there, that's not his fault for hitting them, correct? I think that's what
while
he's
they're
getting at.
parked, if
Yeah.
they're parked there and they're just sitting there, I mean, he does have some due restraint to avoid them. Now, if they're parked in the lane of travel, they just need to call. We need to go out there. We need to remove them.
Okay.
So.
You need to find out why they have such big lines. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't work over there too much, but I'll ask my East End troops and find out.
All right, sounds good. Well, we're out of time. Sergeant Keith Thompson with the Idaho State Police. Thank you. We'll send everybody over the CSI at 9 o'clock this Saturday morning for Just Drive.
Right.
And be
All right.
safe out there.
Yep.
Thanks.
This is Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. We have Twin Falls School District Superintendent Wiley Dobbs next. 7360300 was the number to call. We have Twin Falls School Superintendent Dr. Wiley Dobbs with us this morning, going to talk about the school strategic plan. Before we do that, though, I need to tell you about Infrared Baron. That's where they fly over your fields. Far more of Idaho.
Are you okay?
Far more of Idaho. They fly over your fields, and then they take infrared pictures, and then they upload those to your computer so you can take a look at them and see how your water is doing.
How dry
see
your
how
field
your
is.
crops are doing. How dry it is. Yeah, because you might water that field for 24 hours, and then you look at it with infrared photography, and you think, wow, we got some dry spots here. How can that happen? Well, it's probably because your sprinkler system needs some adjusting. So you can make those adjustments, and then you will wind up getting better yields. So therefore, the flyovers of your field for this Infrared Baron do not cost. Those pay for you. All right. Check it out at Far More of Idaho, 324-3341, or at farmoreofidaho.com. So, Wiley Dobbs is with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. Jill, good to be here.
Nice
Glad to have you
here.
back, as always.
Good to be back.
We wanted to talk about the school strategic plan, and we had an interesting call yesterday. We had a gentleman who lives on Harrison Street in Twin, and I guess that's across the street from where they will be maybe building a new junior high.
Mm-hmm.
And he was wondering, because we were talking about the notification of zoning changes and such, and he was wondering if he would be notified. I guess the long story short is that it's already been approved for a school, so there won't be any notifications going out.
That's a good question, Kelly. I'd have to check with my friends at the city to find out what the process is. I don't know for sure as far as whether he'll get a notification or where we are in that process. It hasn't been that long ago that we identified the property and purchased it. So
Yeah.
I'll get that answer to you, and you could report it on
Okay.
there.
Okay,
All right,
good. Yeah,
sounds
because
good.
we certainly didn't know the answer.
Yeah.
I feel better now that you didn't know the answer. So, okay.
I don't know a lot of answers.
I'm right on
Yeah.
the same level as Wiley. Yay.
There are some things that even we don't know. So
Okay, good.
about the strategic plan, are we looking at making changes now, or what's the status with it?
What
Well-
is it, first of all, in case people didn't know you
Sure.
guys even had one?
Sure, and it's kind of interesting because the legislature last year passed a law that all districts now have to have one.
Okay.
In the Twin Falls School District, we've had one. This will be our fourth 5-year plan. So
Wow.
we started back in 1999 with a process where we involved our community, and we did that for the main reason because it's everybody's school district. It's not my school district. It's our community school district. So we get our community involved. We started back in 2000 and had a 5-year plan, 2000 to 2005. Then we went from 5 to 10, then 10 to 15. And so this next year will be our fourth iteration of our strategic plan.
Wow.
Okay, so the whole, I guess it's kind of like the city's strategic plan. It is a plan. It can be changed, but it's kind of gives you a goal of what to shoot for.
Yeah, it really gives us a roadmap. And one of the things I let people know, I tell people that it's our board within the 5 years, we use this thing a lot. My copy is dog-eared, and I go through it a lot. And every year the board creates goals for that year. For example, we've created some goals for this year that I look at as my marching orders. And the strategic plan I view as our promise. We promise to get these things done over the next 5 years once we create this fourth plan.
So 5 years ago, did you realize you'd have to have, was it 2 more elementary schools and 1 middle school? Was that part of the strategic plan, or does it change as because the population has grown quite a bit, even in 5 years?
Yeah, it has. But one of the focus areas, we have 6 focus areas. One of the focus areas is facilities planning. And while we weren't specific back in 2010 that we were going to need these things,
Right.
we created a plan where we would pull the Community Facilities Advisory Committee back together again, which is made up of community members, students, teachers, people from a large cross section. And, last year we went through that process. It was a year-long process and came up with a plan. And I think that's one of the reasons why we garnered so much support, is that we included our community so heavily.
Where can someone find the strategic plan? I mean, you guys are looking for input right now from the community on this?
Well, it's in my back pocket.
Okay, so do we have to just go there for it, Wiley?
No, you can actually go to our website.
Okay.
And you can go to our website, take a look at it. One of the neat things we have is we have the shortened version so people can see the focus areas. If you walk into any of our schools, it's in the front
Is it?
door area.
Okay.
You'll see a picture of our school board members, and then the list of promises will be right next to them. And it's a small. We get the small version, but online, what they'll be able to do is see our tracking form. Not only do we have our goals, but we show and track what we're doing.
Okay.
So are you 100%? Or is that even possible to be 100% of getting the goals? I mean, you would think maybe 80 or 90% might be an excellent record.
Well, it's kind of interesting because the strategic plan is a set of 6 focus areas.
Right.
And
what are
so-
they? You mentioned facilities. What are the other 5?
Well, we want our kids to be college, career, and life ready.
Okay.
We want quality education and learning opportunities. We want to recruit and retain quality personnel. We want to be good stewards of the resources that we receive. We want school environment and facilities that meet the needs of our kids. I think maybe I missed one.
Well, then you mentioned facilities before.
Right.
Could that be? Yeah, that would be the 6.
Yeah.
So is it hard to reach your goals sometimes when you have a legislature that might affect some of your funding or cuts the budget? How do you then deal with that part of it?
Well, that's, one of the things that we have within our strategic plan is that we have a community budget advisory committee. Again, we really use
got a lot
our
of
community.
committees,
We
yeah.
really do. We have a lot of committees, but we believe in that kind of work. We have a shared leadership approach. And so we pull our community budget advisory committee together and we talk about these things. And while the legislature may come up short in funding, we explore and look at other ways that we can fund the things that our kids need in our schools.
So that's when you think about levies and bonds and things like
Exactly.
that. Okay. That's great.
So are you looking for people to be on these committees? I'm sure there's always some amount of attrition.
Yeah, we, speaking of the strategic plan process, I'm going around and making presentations around the community. This is one, and thank you for having me on. We have a way that people can provide input. It's on our website. They can go online. We have 3 or 4 questions, very quick questions that they can answer and help us that way.
What's your website, real quick?
I would just Google Twin Falls School District.
I did that
Okay.
this morning,
That's
and
what
it
I
came
would
right
do.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
how I
Good.
got the strategic plan.
Yeah, the address is as long as my arm, and I can't remember it.
We aren't going to dock you at that point for that one. Okay.
That won't
So
be considered a stump, huh?
Yeah, that would be another stump.
check. Okay. Go on.
But at the bottom of that form is a place where you can fill in your name and phone number to get in a series of roundtables. We're going to have
Okay.
4 roundtables, 3 roundtables with different community members each time. There'll be 30 or 35 people. Mike Pepper will be our facilitator. He'll facilitate the process by which we go through our current plan. We're updating it. We're going to find out from our community what they want. Then we're going to kind of have an all-star group. We're going to pull members from each of the roundtables into a fourth session and round it into a draft form, and then it goes through a process where the board looks at it. We put it back out for more comments and questions, and then they approve it in time for us to have it online and ready to go for 2015 to 2020. It's a 5-year plan.
Okay, great. So how long do you think this process will take? Just a few months?
Yeah, it's a few months. We've done quite a bit of the work to date as far as getting the word out. The goal is to have the plan final approval in March of 2015.
Okay, great. Wow.
So if people want to be on these committees, they just go to the website and let it be known, fill out a form, or?
Yeah, if that's easy for them. If it's better, call me at 733-6900 and we'll get you on the list.
So do you have to live in Twin? Does it matter? Do you have to have children?
Well, you have to live in the Twin Falls School District.
School district, okay.
And that goes outside the boundaries of the city in some areas.
Yes, it does. Now it does, doesn't it?
So, you don't have to have children in the district.
Okay.
We really get a lot of great feedback from our senior citizens. We get tremendous feedback from students who are on the committee.
Okay,
now
so
they
no
are
age
brutally
limit,
honest,
right?
Too, yeah. So
They're like, finally, I have a chance to tell them what I really think.
Please do, yes. And we encourage them to do that. And like I said, they have provided us with some great input and feedback that has truly made our district better.
Okay, great.
Just so people will know, too, these committees, I'm sure, are volunteer. There's no pay or anything for serving on these committees.
No, but I think we provide very good treats.
I was going to say, you must have cookies or something, right?
Oh, yeah. There'll be cookies for sure.
What else could you ask for?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or apples, maybe some apples.
Yeah.
That would be good. I
was just going to say we've kind of wrapped up the deal on the strategic plan. Is there anything else that I know you're making presentations and we've given you about 15 minutes? I don't know if we covered everything or if there's still some stuff that you want to talk about.
Well, one of the things we get a lot of questions about, and you mentioned it earlier, is where our schools are going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's part of our strategic planning, or the fruit of part of our strategic plan. And you mentioned Harrison. It's 3600 in Harrison was where the new middle school will be.
Some people say, why? Wait, that's the one out on
south, yeah,
near
south.
Hankins, right?
No, I think right out here.
Oh, that's out
out
here. Because I've heard the one out on Hankins. People say, why is it so far out?
Well, I'll address that. I did want to mention, as far as the middle school goes, we have a middle school in the west, Robert Stewart, a middle school in the east, O'Leary, and the committee, the planning group, really felt like the next place to have another middle school would be in the south. There's been a lot of growth here in the south, and there'll be a lot more over the next few years. The two elementary schools, one will be on the west side of town, which is where it's kind of the northwest side of town, which is where the most growth has taken place in recent years. It'll be on Federation and Grandview.
Oh, okay.
Federation doesn't go all the way through yet, but it will pretty soon. And it'll be on that corner. And then the one that you're talking about is in the east. That's where we own property. We own some property across Hankins from where the Boy Scout office is. And that is on our eastern, our far eastern side of our community.
It is.
But when you take a look at all of our schools, that's a pretty good placement. There's a lot of growth out in that part of our community also, a lot of homes and such.
Well, it's kind of so close to Kimberly, you wonder, it's pretty far out there, and I have heard that comment in the community.
Yeah, it is on the edge of town.
It is.
But there is
Actually, it's beyond the edge, because you had to annex it into the city.
Right.
Yeah. It's beyond the water boundary.
But that seems to be, I think you're probably kind of looking at the way growth is moving, too, because if you put that there now, who knows, 10 years from now, it might be in the middle of town.
Well, when Twin Falls High School was built, back in, they started building it in early 1950s, there was a lot of pheasant hunting that was going on right around
during recess.
That area. Yeah, so you tend to, when you build a school, community kind of grows out around it. Schools are good neighbors, and property values go up around schools as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the placement where we ended up placing the 3 schools really is going to serve us well as we move into the future.
Okay.
Well, Wiley, we are out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank
we'll have
you,
to have you
Wiley.
back, and we'll just talk more about the schools and such, because it is a lot of interest around here. So.
I'd
yeah,
love to
especially
come
with
back.
the recent cuts. We
Yeah.
would like to have you come back and talk
Absolutely.
about that.
Twin
I will.
Falls School Superintendent Wiley Dobbs, he will be rejoining us later on, and thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Wiley. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, you guys.
We have Lieutenant Governor Brad Little in this next hour here on Top Story. And welcome back to Top Story, 7360300, always the number to call. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Callie. Same to you.
Wow, it just switched to 50 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Balmy.
I'll say. Yeah, this is the time of year where you use the heater in the morning and the air conditioner in the afternoon.
know.
So
It's Idaho.
it is. It's campaign time, and we have with us this morning Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Appreciate you being here.
Nice to be here. It was a little cool coming down.
Yeah, this is the coolest morning we've had so far. And then it's supposed to start warming up a little bit. Hey, how's the campaign going?
Oh, fine. These things are a good thing because it gives you a chance to get around the state. We actually started almost a year ago. We've been Teresa and I have circulated around the state several times, and as you get closer to the election, you got a faster pace, and you don't get to have as casual conversations and listen quite as much. So, But no, it's reasonable that, particularly in a diverse state as Idaho, that you get out and find out what's on people's minds.
It's interesting that you say that. Do you think Idaho's becoming more diverse as the time goes on?
It's always been diverse, but I mean, just the economy itself drives, a lot of technology, and the old traditional industries that we always have, even though they're still traditional industries, just get to be more and more sophisticated. And, that lends to, higher skills needed to survive and thrive under this, changing world.
So, as Lieutenant Governor, some people don't really realize what is your role in the state.
Well, I preside over the Senate, the Constitution, and then if the governor's out of the state, I'm governor, but that's not that big of a deal. And then you do whatever the governor assigns you to do. I chaired the task force on transportation. I've been to Magic Valley a lot because I do a lot of economic development work, and then I help quite a bit with appointments, which the nice thing about appointments is you get to learn about all the little areas of government, whatever, licensing, everything from the State Board of Education on down to the Pea and Lentil Commission or whatever it may be. Of course, right now in this area, the barley guys are. I was with them this week. The barley people talking about all the losses that they've had in the rain.
Right.
Millions of dollars worth
Yeah,
in losses.
I think
there.
$12 million in Twin Falls County is what they estimate.
Gee whiz. That's going to be a big hit. Now, you mentioned jobs a bit ago. And Idaho, that's one of the infamous lists that Idaho's on pretty much on the top of, the amount of workers in the state making minimum wage. A lot of people are blaming that on the Republicans. How do you answer that?
Well, but the other statistic is we had a deep recession, but our recovery out of the recession has been one of the fastest. And when people don't have a job, often their first job is minimum wage. I fully agree that minimum wage is not a livable wage, but it is a starting wage. And whether it's a student or whether it's somebody that's retired that wants to work a little bit, but the goal is to put enough velocity in the economy that minimum wage is only for a brief period of time, and then you put enough growth going forward that there's pressure, which there is here in this valley. I talk to employers all the time. For them to get good employers, they got to pay more than minimum wage. So that's a starting wage.
But many people actually stay in those jobs. I mean, I think 60% are women. Are you opposed to raising the state minimum wage?
I am. When we raised the minimum wage the last time, we did it in conjunction with the federal government. Any kind of a mandate by the federal government always has unintended consequences. Obviously, if you talk to people in the restaurant business, particularly the bigger chains, They did part of this as a result of their being forced to adopt the Affordable Care Act, and that's they just replaced people with iPads. So you walk into a restaurant, they have you an iPad, you do all the ordering, you do all your paying, and so they cut down their workforce in the restaurant by 30 or 40% and replace you with technology. We got to get people to work. We've got to give people a work ethic, and we've got to provide them a work ethic, an opportunity to work to start. And so I think it's really important that if we were to raise the minimum wage, we have exceptions for certain areas so that we can get people into the workforce and get them started. A lot of piecework in agriculture starts at the minimum wage, but almost everybody that survives there makes more than that because there's a base that they get paid that they have to get paid.
The thing that I hear in the Valley, and I run a business networking group, is from businesses is they can't find qualified employees. I mean, basically the standard right now that you hear is anyone who can pass a drug test. I know we're bringing more industry into the area, but you think, how can we can't fill the jobs that we have right now. What is your answer for that, for qualifying the workforce? Because I know it's all on your shoulders.
Well, if you pay enough, you'll find them. I mean, I just lost an employee off our operation in North Dakota. Well, I can't afford to pay $100,000 a year, but I mean, that's the beautiful thing about a market. It works. You'll find employees at some price, and that's, I think, as that takes place, wage levels are going to go up. Part of the problem with the minimum wage is what's a livable wage in Dietrich is not a livable wage in Ketchum. And it's so hard to say this number is a livable wage, particularly with the diversity, housing costs in Ketchum compared to housing costs in a lot of other areas. And that's a problem with some kind of a mandated number because it varies wherever you are. Yeah, a good example would be Aberdeen, where the potato plant is just shutting down. They're going to have lots and lots of affordable housing there. We're trying to get somebody to go into Aberdeen to supplant the jobs that are lost there, and they're going to be able to go in there and because housing's affordable, we're trying to get somebody back into that plant. But there isn't one number that's a livable wage in any community.
Another hot button issue I think this year is education. Everybody's talking about education. Does the rejection of the what so-called, if I can use the term, Luna laws by the Idaho voters, does that have the Republican Party kind of maybe rethinking the direction we want to head in education?
Well, I think the minute the votes were counted 2 years ago, the rethinking took place, and that's where the task force on public education that the governor put together and came up with the 20 recommendations. That it sure didn't wait until now. I mean, it was obvious
Right.
that the governor and Tom talk about this, the fact that obviously it was the speed at which it was adopted and the fact that there wasn't buy-in, and a lot of the different components of Students Come First some of them were implemented by the state legislature almost the next year, and some of them weren't, and rightfully so, but it still has not. I mean, it's still very, very important. And as we come out of the recession, there's no question that the urgency of having a trained workforce is our limitation on growing the state.
The Paul school, the Minidoka School District, I guess, just
You had a nice picture in the paper yesterday.
They're going to apparently lose their iPad program.
Right.
It almost makes you wonder if, when somebody goes to college, it's up to the student to buy all that stuff. And in our K through 12, sometimes I wonder if is it up to somebody else besides the state government to buy all the technology? Because I don't see how that's going to be affordable in the future.
Well, apparently it isn't, because they didn't get a second grant to help support the $244,000 they put into that program.
But I was a proponent of that as a pilot project because that was a full meal deal. I mean, I was in the Paul school, and there were students that had got their iPads and were in Germany and were still taking their lessons, and it was running through their server right there, so it was filtering all the bad stuff off the internet. I mean, it's incredible. But we have gone out to lots of different school districts, and some of them it's not 1-to-1. Some of them it's 1-to-3. They might have one device for every 3. Some of them are going to a lot cheaper computer than an iPad, to these Google pads, and I've had students tell me they have better eyes than I do. They can do everything on a phone. And
well, is it in lieu of textbooks, or is it just for them to do research or to do papers, or what are they for?
All of the above. The textbooks have always been of concern to me, because I think it's important that whatever's current in science, whatever's current in world history be out there. And when they get behind, when you figure what it costs for a school district to buy all new textbooks, the opportunity that you have an updated, state-of-the-art, here's what's available, delivered over the internet and wireless. We've delivered the internet to all the high schools. Now we're delivering it to the other schools. We're getting wireless implemented in there, and then we're just kind of seeing what works. Maine has had 1 computer to 1 for years. They were the first state to do that, and I've spent time talking to them. We are asking for the 115 school districts in the state to all go out and find what works best. I know that part of the Valley View School District, I think they've got 1 device, and this is in grade school, for every 3 kids, and it's working really well.
So were you disappointed when that pilot program wasn't funded again? Because it seems like such a waste of money. It was almost $250,000.
Well,
yeah.
No, I mean, there was value from what they learned from it, but I was
because now they've distributed the iPads elsewhere. So,
but the Apple program, which is everything from the servers to the iPads to the charging units to the Apple TVs or whatever they call them, that is the first class. That's the Cadillac version. And if we're going to do it for the entire state of Idaho, it's probably obvious that it's not going to be the Cadillac version. And in fact, the price of that technology is coming down every day. The computers that were proposed in Students Come First, the HP laptops in Students Come First, I'll bet today are 30 or 40% less than what they were when that program was launched.
That is one of the nice things about technology. As it develops, it gets cheaper.
It's a nice thing, and it's also the bad thing, because then
that's true.
You go to these school districts, and they'll take you to their technology room, and they got stacks of old computers there, like
that's
true.
And we all know that from our own lives and from our own businesses, how the technology changes. But there's no question that technology is going to be one of the ways that we can deliver education, particularly to the smaller school districts, much more affordably. But this has been going on for a long time. I remember when they built the Micron Center at Boise State University. Jack Simplot was alive, and he said, we're going to take the very best teachers in the world and deliver them to the kids at Declo, and that's always been a vision, and we're getting better at it. But you got to have the pipe coming in, you got to have the wireless distribution there.
That's right.
That's going to continue.
Lieutenant Governor Brad Little, running for re-election on the Republican ticket. We appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you so much. Best of luck.
Thanks for having me.
All right. This is Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX. 7360300 is the number to call here on Top Story. And yesterday's $100 instant winning name is Dolores Moran.
Dolores Moran, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is costume.
Costume.
Because we are getting close.
We're not that close.
Halloween day.
Costume.
Go to our website at newsradio1310.com. Click on Word of the Day. Type in costume. Listen tomorrow. You hear your name tomorrow. You played the word today. Get $100.
That's how easy that one is.
It's pretty easy.
Pretty darn easy.
Yes, indeed.
And also, since we picked the winner yesterday of our lunch, which was Rebecca Milsoika, you can start entering again. Well, you should have started entering yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
Enter. Play the word of the day. Play the games. Play whatever. And you could win.
We have a caller. Top Story, you were on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I stopped at Walmart yesterday here in Jerome about 3:30, and as I got out of my car, I picked up a credit card. It It's a platinum Wells Fargo debit card, and it says it's customer since 2000, and it's good through May of 2016. So it's should be active. The name on the card is.
We probably don't want to mention the name.
Well, I was gonna turn the thing into. I thought maybe it'd let her know. She might not even know she's lost it.
Ah, okay.
And I was going to turn it into Wells Fargo Bank. I'll be here for maybe another half an hour or so, and then I'll be going to Jerome. I live over in Jerome.
Okay.
I don't know what branch but they should be able to find it.
Yeah, I
would think. But I think it'd be all right to give her a name here, wouldn't it?
Well, you know what?
What the heck?
All right, or leave,
maybe
at least
it'll help her find
maybe
it.
just a first name.
Tiffany.
All right. So if some Tiffany out there has lost a Wells Fargo credit card.
It's a debit card.
Debit card.
It's a Visa debit card by Wells Fargo Bank.
And which one are you at?
Well, I'll turn it in Jerome.
Okay,
but
so
you
the Wells
found
Fargo
it outside of where? The
Walmart here in Jerome.
Okay.
All right, so all Tiffany will have to do is go in and give her last name, and that'll be on the card, and there'll be a match made in heaven.
Well, yeah, it's a personal card. They got different pictures on them. You know, you can get your different.
Okay.
So there's no question about if she got some identification or even identifies a picture on the card, then you could get it.
Okay, very good. Well, we appreciate you being honest and turning that in.
I imagine the person
is freaking out.
She'd like to know somebody could be dumping their empty in her account if somebody else had got it, but I'm not that way.
Well, God bless you, man. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. All right, have a good day.
Sometimes, you run in real quick. You don't want to schlep your whole purse. You just might put your credit card in your pocket, and it might fall out. She must be freaking out. I hope someone knows, tells Tiffany.
I would think so. But in fact, just yesterday, a friend on Facebook posted where she had 8 non-authorized purchases on one of her cards.
Oh, no.
And she was freaking out, and then she had to spend her whole lunch hour getting that mess taken care of.
It's awful.
Because somebody who found it went out and just started. She apparently lost it or stole it from her, and then went out and started making purchases on it. And it's just too bad we live in a society that does that sort of thing.
What happened to the golden rule?
And another thing, and since we're kind of talking about this, it's kind of a stretch from it, but the real estate lady that went to show the house, and the guy wound up killing her.
And you know why?
And now
Did you hear his reason?
Yeah, she was a rich broker.
She was there. She was a rich broker.
Yeah.
And you know what? My sister-in-law is a realtor. They do worry about meeting someone in an empty home that you do not know.
That's right.
It is scary.
But now the real estate company, instead of just meeting them at the house, the customer is going to have to come to the real estate company, show some ID. They're going to have to send now 2 people out.
Yeah.
It just shows you how our society is changing because of the miscreants that are walking on the face of this planet who really, you know what?
But anyone who works in their home, I counsel people in my home.
Yes.
And I would, and sometimes if they were men, I would tell Tom when, have them be there when they're,
Right.
And he knows when they're supposed to leave. It does make you, it unnerves you a bit.
I know. It's scary. And it makes you wonder, people who show up as a serviceman or something, and it's kind of like the thing that's going on in Jerome right now, where they're showing up at houses and they're knocking on the door, and if somebody answers, they ask for somebody they know doesn't live there.
Yeah.
Because sorry, I got the wrong house. But if nobody's there, then they make entry into the house.
So if someone asks you the wrong number, just call the police.
Absolutely.
Just call them right there.
And get any kind of ID. You can get a license plate number, any kind of take a picture of them. Say, no, you got the wrong house, but here, I'm going to take a picture of you and send it to the county sheriff, just as a precaution. You don't mind if I do that, do you? Just go ahead and do it. They're on your property.
Yeah.
So,
why are people, why can't we be nice to each other? Why
can't we all just get along?
Can't we just
anyway,
care and respect each
other?
other?
We'll be right back here on Top Story. 736-0300 is the number to call here on Top Story. Welcome back. And that Dave Hansen and the crew at Canyon Pond would like you to stop by and say hi. I know many of you already have. Many of you stop by on a regular basis. It's kind of addicting, once you stop by, you see some cool stuff, might buy a few items, and you think, man, I got to stop in again tomorrow and see what see what there is
What I
tomorrow
might be
that they don't have.
missing.
That's right. What they don't have today, they'll have tomorrow. Camping supplies, and they had some woodworking equipment in there, and fishing supplies and tools and all kinds of guns. And with all the hunting that's going on right now, man, I tell you what, that could be your one-stop shop. And 933-2600 is the number to call if you're looking for something in particular. You can call Dave at Canyon Pawn, and it's the newest pawn store in town. It's on Shoshone Street. It is right across from Will's Toyota, and they'd like to have you stop by and say hi.
They would.
We have a caller. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, lovely Jill.
Good morning.
Listen, Jill, we got an over and under on your answer that you're going to do now, and I was just wondering, and what is the percentage of you accepting that song "Simple Man" as your ringtone on your phone?
Accepting what?
That song "Simple Man." You know the bumper music.
Oh, as my phone ring? I don't know. I don't even know how to change it.
Well, would you like to have it out there?
I guess, sure. Why? Yeah.
How
do it? How do I do it?
You download it.
I'm so bad at this.
Oh, Jill, you killed me. Thank you, Jill.
Okay, thank you.
All
right.
Okay.
I'll have to figure that out. I swear, I'm like, this phone is beyond me. I like use it for email, texting, and phones, and that's it.
Knowledge. If you have a smartphone, of course, with the internet connection, the knowledge, history, and wisdom or lack thereof of the entire world is in the palm of our hands. And what do we use it for? For going on Facebook and insulting our friends. That's what we use it for.
I don't even use it for that. But, yeah, it's kind of, I'm sorry, it's beyond me.
I don't make many posts to Facebook anymore. If I do, it's just something light and happy and whatever.
And showing off your little whistles and tops
That's
and things
right.
that you're making.
Yes, I enjoy doing that. Say, we do have some news that we haven't been able to get to yet. Julia Pearson, the first female director of the Secret Service, resigned yesterday in the aftermath of that fence jumper gaining access to the White House on September 19th. It seems like because of this little situation that they had there, that there are all kinds of things coming out now about the Secret Service. They had like over 1,000 breaches or something like that. They had some guy riding in the elevator with the president who had a record and was armed. Now, first of all,
taking pictures with the president, this and that. It was when he went to Atlanta to the CDC.
So I don't know, was the worker on there operating the elevator or something?
Yeah, I think he was.
Okay, all right.
But they didn't check him out. You're supposed to check. You're supposed to have an advanced team. You're supposed to check everyone out. The president is in the elevator with this man, and he's not checked out. They just found out about that yesterday. And when did it originally happen? When he was at
I don't know when, but it was some time ago.
Yeah, and literally the president just found out. They found out about that yesterday.
Yeah.
And then to think about that man getting into the White House, who the Secret Service has stopped on 2 other occasions. Hello, outside of the White House. One he had a hatchet. He had some other weapons. Yeah. And you have to wonder, what are they doing? He
got into the White House on the 2nd floor, is my understanding. The only reason he got stopped is because there was a Secret Service agent or a guard or something who was off duty.
He didn't get up to the 2nd floor. He passed the landing that could go to the 2nd floor because that's where the residents are. And literally the girls and President Obama left 4 minutes earlier. 4 minutes earlier. He could have had a bomb on him. He could have had so many things.
Many things could have happened there. So many things.
It's surprising because the history of the Secret Service, and if you read about them, and there is a good book about them, the pressure, of course, is a lot, but they used to take their job so seriously and professionally, and any infraction was such a personal affront to them.
Yeah.
Shocking.
I don't get it. 7360300, top story. You're on the air.
I only got one thing to say, and what difference does it make now?
What difference does it? What do you mean?
Yeah, firing her doesn't help.
Just like Hillary said, what difference does it make?
I see what you're saying. Well,
So yeah, haha, I guess I didn't get it. But,
whether you like him or her
but firing
or not.
her, is it really fixing the problem now? It was like when you fired Shinseki. Okay, Shinseki, did you fix the problem? You got to get to the problem. Now you have but someone who took the fall.
She was not getting to the problem. So would it have done any good to set her down and say, "Hey, look, Julia, you got to get to the problem
her
here. You got to
testimony
figure this out."
wasn't very good.
I know. Yeah, I think
it was a bad thing.
And it was her decision to resign, and there would have been they were
said
calling
fine.
for her anyway to resign.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back. 7360300 is the number to call. Welcome back, folks, here on Top Story. And just wanted to remind you that if you are considering a low and honey loader, which they have at Stanley and Company for your feedlot or dairy operation, which loads manure, if we may call it that.
Why not?
Liquid, frozen, or dry. And we've had a lot of the liquid stuff here in the last week or so when we've had quite a bit of rain. But if you have an issue with that on your feedlot or dairy and need to handle it, get a hold of Pat Hartzell. He can set you up so you can see one of these in operation, one of the many feedlots or dairy operations in the area that do have one, before you make that big decision. His number is 280-1167. That's 280-1167. That is Pat Hartzell with Stanley and Company. 7360300 is the number, and you are on Top Story. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, but usually I see eye to eye with you on things, Kelly, and I have to say that what you told your listeners just a little while ago sounded pretty dangerous to me.
What did I say?
Well, if my grandmother or my 18-year-old daughter was home alone and they were listening to your advice on those people that are going around knocking on the doors in Jerome and saying that they got the wrong house and all that, you had said that you would just tell them, I'm going to take your picture and I'm going to turn it into the department. But you're dealing with a criminal here, and they could turn around and attack you to keep you from trying to report them.
Yeah,
I would
guess that's a good
actually
point.
shut the door and then take pictures without their knowledge.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good point.
I would shut the door and just call 911.
You're right.
Yeah,
that's
I definitely wouldn't confront them, tell them that you're going to turn them in. That's just too dangerous.
That's a good point.
Good point. Okay, I stand corrected. Thank you very much for. Usually Jill does that, but.
Is that you stand corrected again?
I suppose that would be just shut the door and then go over to the window.
Yeah,
and
no,
snap
I
a
mean
picture
when
while
you're
they're
talking
leaving.
about, especially being a woman and you're by yourself, chances are a lot of times I don't even open the door.
Sometimes I don't take the perspective of a woman. I just take the perspective of being a grumpy
big
old
grumpy man.
A grumpy old man.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's a good pointer. The Idaho Supreme Court has ruled that Libertarian gubernatorial candidate and former Canyon County prosecutor John Buzak violated 4 of the Idaho State Bar's ethics rules between 2004 and 2011. So the question is now, how is this going to affect his campaign? Do you think maybe at the very onset that Mr. Buzak may not have the best of chances of winning the election anyway? And then when something like this, or maybe it'll help him. I don't know.
Oh yeah, knowing some people, yeah.
You just never know.
But you look up those charges and stuff, because I think in the criminal actions he represented himself, but these were civil. So, I don't know. You have to do some research on him. He has had a colorful past. That's what I can say. And apparently they found that, The
court found that Buzak violated rules about communication, safekeeping of property, conflict of interest, and conduct prejudicial to the amendment of justice. Now, this is legal speak, so I really don't know for sure what all that means, but it must not be good.
Well, didn't he also somehow became the beneficiary of one of his clients, and also
didn't
deposit checks in their clients' accounts? And
the case arose after complaints were filed accusing Buzak of failing to deposit checks intended for a client's estate and convincing an elderly client to name him as her beneficiary. Buzak was found not guilty of the charges in a 2013 criminal case.
But they found him ethically.
Apparently so.
So he lost his license for a year, but apparently he took that off for a year and a half during the trial part.
Yeah, because he already underwent a 19-month interim suspension 3 years ago, so they decided that would serve as that.
I was kind of surprised that question did not come up in the debate. Wouldn't you ask someone about the history of, because he's had a few charges on there, and I was surprised that wasn't one of the first questions. Like, would you want to explain this? Wouldn't you want to explain that?
You would think. Yeah, you would think so.
But you know what? We have Larry Craig, who's now the GOP financial guy, and, clearly he was found. Actually, he pled guilty in that one. Remember? Yeah.
He pled guilty.
Never told anyone, but some newspaper, the reporters look for police records and what's happened, and some reporter in Minneapolis found it, and that's how it got out 6 weeks later. Remember, he came back to Idaho. He didn't tell his wife, he didn't tell his attorney, he didn't tell, and he thought it would all go away.
What strange webs we weave.
So $242,000 of donor funds paid for his legal fees, which he was now required to pay.
And that decision was just made this week.
Yesterday, or the other day, yeah. So you know what? You still have history in Idaho, and somehow people.
Well,
was it George who was it? George Hansen who had 4 felonies? Wasn't it? Yes, and one.
Yes.
Wasn't he? Or what? How does that happen?
Welcome to Idaho.
I don't get it.
It depends on what they are. I mean, some of them can hail you as a cult leader, if there are certain crimes. So if they're crimes against the government, I mean, that's almost a hero's welcome type thing.
Somehow that one.
Here's the Huckabee Report.
Not.
You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger are the financial advisors, and the number is 736-6563.
You know how you just read these headlines real quick? I just saw a headline. Woman spends a month in jail after cops mistake SpaghettiOs for meth. That's a big mistake.
SpaghettiOs? Yeah. How do you mistake SpaghettiOs for meth?
This poor woman spent a month in jail. How do you not? I don't know.
I read a headline earlier this morning, said something about a cop. How did that go? A cop pulled a 16-year-old over, suspecting him of assault on another person. When he pulled him over, the other person said, "Oh, no, that happened a couple of weeks ago." So the kid spent 3 years in jail waiting for this to come up somehow. Yeah, it was incredible. I didn't read the story. I didn't have time, so it might be all messed up.
The headlines are crazy. Hey, you know what? Actually, I'm going to speak at the Senior Center today for the Office of Aging on nutrition for seniors.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I guess they're having a long day program for ombudsmans and different topics, so I'm going to be one of the topics.
So do seniors like me need different food than, say, a person of 20?
Yeah, actually you do, And actually, as we age, we contract more. You get smaller, you get tighter, you get shorter.
It would be in my dreams to have gotten smaller the older I get, but I haven't.
Fast forward about 20 years. But people start to contract and they tend to actually to eat more sweets because as you contract is yang and as you eat sweets is yin, so it balances. So yeah, I remember my grandfather, he'd eat a lot, he was in New Jersey, of course, but he'd do a lot of coffee and cake. He'd eat a lot of coffee and cake. That's all I'd see him eat, as he got older and older, coffee and cake. You sort of. So anyway, there are things you can. So we're going to talk about interesting things.
Oh, that. And
I'm going to serve my caramel corn. So.
Oh yeah, that is actually good. You've had your caramel corn with a lot of book signings, and I've had 2 or 3 different samples. Yeah, it does. It tastes like caramel corn.
I know, without the problems.
Yeah, it's very interesting how you do that.
So anyway, that should be a lot of fun. And tomorrow's Friday.
Yes. Who do we have tomorrow?
Well, Kelly class. Tomorrow we have. I'm on the wrong week. CSI and Bill Yacerda with Chick-fil-A, bras across the canyon.
Oh, that's right.
So we're going to find out their aspect in it all.
Yes, indeed. So that's coming up Saturday.
Where
Don't
did
miss
the week
that.
go?
Noon Saturday. Hey, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, Jill. Have a good day.
Goodbye, Kelly. You too.